Hi guys, welcome back to Realize Gains. My name is Sean and today we're tackling a big question. How is Singapore handling tariffs so much better than the rest of the world? A couple months ago, when Trump first imposed tariffs, many wondered how a small city-state like Singapore could navigate this. After all, we are a small open economy relying heavily on external trade for our GDP. About 180% of it to be exact. When PM Lawrence Wong first addressed the tariffs, he received worldwide accolades for how well he handled the situation as a new Prime Minister, breaking down complex tariff jargon for everyday Singaporeans and citizens. Most recently, on August 7, Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong spoke at the 69 Economic Society of Singapore's annual dinner. And he dropped some astute points on navigating the US tariffs and global trade war. And so today's video, we're going to be diving into essentially what Lee Hsien Loong said and how Singapore is playing this game and navigating the situation.
We have a free trade agreement with the US. It's a zero. We have imports from the US, 0% tariff. Now the US has decided that Singapore has 10% tariffs like everybody else. And we console ourselves that that's the best rate and we hope that we stay there.
Let's kick off with the tariff. Back in April 2025, Trump administration actually set a 10% tariff on us. This is a big shift from our zero tariff US free trade agreement. So it might not seem like much, but the US is actually leaning hard into protectionism, favoring bilateral deals over global systems like the World Trade Organization. But what Lee Hsien Loong said is basically, we should adopt a more world minus one strategy. What this means is that we're actually pivoting away from over-relying on the US and building stronger ties elsewhere and across the world. So essentially, it's like a world minus the US. We're trying to live a life and live in a society and a country and a world without them. It's about creating a network that thrives without one big player and keeping the economies worldwide resilient. So this isn't just clever politics. It's a strategy rooted in game theory actually, a set of rules for life that shows how to make smart decisions when everyone's out for themselves. Game theory is like a playbook for life's toughest choices, whether it's nations trading or people negotiating. It's about predicting what others will do, anticipating them, and picking the best move ahead. One classic problem is the prisoner's dilemma, where two players choose to cooperate or defect to maximize their gains. If both cooperate, they do well. If one defects, they win big, but the other party loses. If both parties defect, however, everyone's worse off. Sounds a bit like global trade, right? Back in the 1980s, political scientist Robert Axelrod ran a tournament to find the best strategy for the repeated prisoner dilemma games. The winner? A simple strategy called tit for tat. Here's how it works. Tit for tat starts by cooperating, and then copies exactly what its opponents did in the last move. If you cooperate, I cooperate. If you defect, like slapping on taxes and tariffs, I retaliate. But I don't hold a grudge. Axelrod found tit for tat won as a strategy because it's nice, forgiving, clear, and retaliatory in the slightest sense. Singapore's world minus one is like tit for tat on a global stage. The US not playing ball, we don't just sit there. We pivot to our trade policies with the rest of the world and our neighbours, cooperating with others to keep trade flowing. But we're forgiving. If the US comes back to the table, we are ready to cooperate again. This is a lot like the morality that's evolved around the world, an eye for an eye. By not over-relying on one player, we avoid the trap of mutual defection. Like in the US-Soviet nuclear arms race, where both sides wasted billions. Instead, we built a cooperative network, ensuring stability even if one country pulls out. That's how Singapore stays ahead in this tariff game. So, how is Singapore pulling this off? We're doubling down on trade agreements like our RCEP and CPTPP. Let's break them down. First, there's a Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP for short, with 15 countries including ASEAN's 10 members, China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, and a few more. It's the world's largest free trade agreement, cutting tariffs and opening Asian Pacific markets for Singaporean firms. Then there's the CPTPP, offering 11 countries like Singapore, Japan, Canada, Mexico, and many more, but not the US.
I love the United States of America!
Since Trump's 2017 exit. This deal spans digital trade, labor, and environmental standards, linking Singapore to diverse markets and reinforcing our trade hub status. Lee Hsien Loong actually nailed this pretty well. No policy can wish away economic loss. Comparative advantage means focusing on what we're best at, is alive, and doing well. Comparative advantage means that we're focusing on what we're good at and doing it well. In economics, protectionism fights against the very fundamental core of competitive advantage and actually trashes the perks of globalization. So in terms of a reality check, once American businesses cozy up to the idea of tariffs, reversing them is a political mess because a lot of businesses over there will act like they're owed protection at everyone else's expense, and everyone else being the rest of the world. That is what they've been doing since the onset of dollar hegemony. So, what can other countries do to stay ahead of the US? Firstly, don't wait around. Every country should start making their own alliances and slowly learning to live without the US. And at least for now, some countries are actually picking up on this. Canada is doing it with deals with their new trade agreement with Ecuador, and the EU is pushing ties with India, Japan, South Korea, and even China. They're teaming up with a trilateral trade pact to counter US tariffs. So in terms of statistics, Singapore total's trade in 2024 was SGD $1.4 trillion. And with a trade to GDP ratio of around 180%, the US actually only accounts for about 7.5% of our exports and 6% of our imports. It makes them our fourth largest trading partner, behind China, Malaysia, and the EU. So who do we really rely on? Actually China, with roughly 13.5% of our exports and 13% of our imports. And Malaysia, of course, is our neighbor with about 10% of our total trade. And ASEAN as a whole as a bloc, making up 25 to 30% of our total trade. Hence, these strategic moves deepening ASEAN, RCEP, and CPTPP ties are essentially very crucial because they build ties with India, Latin America, and extend this to even Africa. So where does this leave us? With a bit of sharp policies, grit, and leaders who actually simplify things for the average citizen, Singapore is actually doing pretty well in terms of navigating this economic landscape. As always, do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts below in the comments if you agree or disagree. And I'll see you guys next time.